Non-profit organisations play a crucial role in building and strengthening the Australian community. However, they are often restricted by budget and time constraints. This often means they are not utilising their full technology stack, which can impact their performance and delivery on their mission. We interviewed Chris Lyons from Microsoft and Steve Dawson from ONGC Systems to discuss how they're helping address this issue and support non-profits. So, what is the Tech for Social Impact program from Microsoft?
Tech for Social Impact is a business within Microsoft's wider philanthropies business. TSI was created in late 2017 to help make benefits of our world-class technology accessible, affordable and relevant for non-profits. Philanthropies have been supporting the non-profit sector for decades now with licensed grants of software, cloud services, and these go to any eligible organisations within the non-profit space. The creation of TSI back in 2017 has further focused the whole operation with a dedicated team responsible to increase grant and discounted licenses. It also dramatically expands the numbers of non-profits gaining access to our services. We also create a solutions and engineering team, which is the first industry-focused engineering team within Microsoft. And this team is tasked to develop solutions to help tackle constituent management and program delivery with the aim to accelerate non-profit mission outcomes. And in offering discounted services and software, we make a margin, which we use to pay for our cost, with the remainder used to help drive good in the social world. Hence, the money raised in helping a non-profit digitally transform goes back into doing more good within and beyond the non-profit sector. This enables us to scale to reach more non-profits each year, along with our partners. It's a unique funding model within the tech sector and one that has been really well received within the non-profit sector.
Non-profits often do not allocate budget toward technology or develop a technology strategy. Chris explains how Microsoft's Tech for Social Impact is helping make technology more affordable and accessible to non-profits.
So we offer a variety of discount and grants across a wide range of cloud technology solutions, as well as providing training resources to ensure non-profits can be successful. You might know us best for the license donations that we make, where we provide grant and discounted licenses for solutions such as Microsoft 365. Ultimately, we want to be able to support the amazing work these non-profits do. Our grant program enables you to get no-cost licenses, which include 300 licenses of Microsoft 365 Business Basic, up to 10 licenses of Business Premium, up to 10 licenses of Power Apps per user licensing, and 5 licenses of Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise. Further to this, we give an annual $3,500 credit for Azure.
What solutions are available to non-profits as part of the Tech for Social Impact program?
So we cover all 3 workloads, so modern workplace, Azure, and business applications, including Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, as well as solutions built specifically to address the most common non-profit scenarios through Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit. This was launched at the back end of 2021. We also offer low-cost and free training. But Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit, as I just mentioned, is an example that connects the non-profit infrastructure with integrated and intelligent capabilities by bringing together disparate data from across organizations. It allows non-profits to realise the true value of their data to accelerate their mission outcomes. It's built using Microsoft's core engineering principles. It's a cross-cloud suite of applications that unlocks the power of Dynamics, Power Platform, Teams, Azure, LinkedIn by leveraging the Dataverse and the common data model. It's designed to break down silos between applications and data stores, providing an integrated experience, and being modular, it meets you where you are as a non-profit. You can adapt at your own pace and grow into it as you go with the help of your partners.
While it's great knowing all these grants and discounts on cloud technology exist, many non-profits struggle to fully take advantage of the benefits. We asked Chris how he has seen non-profits get the most out of these available grants.
So it's about technology, people and processes. Tech is just part of the equation. Partners such as ONGC can help light these processes up for you to keep your mission outcome at the forefront at all times.
We were keen to understand from Chris why Microsoft relies on partners such as ONGC to to deliver solutions to the non-profit community.
So the robust Microsoft partner ecosystem, which ONGC are a great part of, has been with us every step of the way to leverage the foundation of Tech for Social Impact to develop even more solutions around the globe. Our partners have their own support plans and work with Microsoft when challenging obstacles. Many of our TSA-aligned partners, such as ONGC, have either built industry-specific solutions on the common data model, have developed expertise around the non-profit industry, or have invested in ways to ensure that world-class technology can be accessed.
ONGC is proud to be a Gold Microsoft partner and has been collaborating with Microsoft for 20 years to deliver technology solutions to businesses across Australia. Steve explained how ONGC has worked with Microsoft to help non-profits bring these best practices and solutions to life.
There's been scenarios where we've worked with businesses on just literally getting their house in order, and we're talking about not-for-profit organisations that have conventionally not had any budget to implement technology, to then being in a place where they're running industry standard and best practice technology models. On the other hand, we also work with some really amazing, change organisations in the non-profit space that are driving things like climate change. And one of the largest projects we ran actually is now speaking for 65% of the Australian population through delivering climate change initiatives through a digital platform that enables the collaboration to accelerate those climate change initiatives. So it's a really, really varied ability for us to deliver these different solutions. And we find that a lot of different not-for-profits have different missions, different requirements and things like that. The beauty with Microsoft 365 is the baseline technology that underpins the solutions is such commonplace, it's very familiar, and it is really easy and cost effective to implement for not-for-profits as well. So we've worked with Microsoft over the years to build a really strong working relationship where we know we can lean on them to get the additional support we need to support these not-for-profits. And same for Microsoft, we're always there to help lending hand where we can to fill the gap where there's a need for it.
For non-profits starting their journey towards a scalable and secure platform, it's important to know the right place to start. Steve provided some insight to help non-profits that are beginning their journey.
Look, I think the most common thing with not-for-profits is a lot of them don't necessarily have the internal skill sets to understand their current state of play. A lot of them have just found their way to where they are today just through using technology and not really having a clear strategy or idea of what good looks like. So the best place to start really comes down to leveraging somewhat of a business assessment or a technology assessment. And this is a process where we review how technology is currently being used in a business, but also what good could look like and what the gaps are between the start and the end of that process. Now, by building out that assessment piece, we're able to then build a technology roadmap for that organisation, which also assists in delivering a best practice technology outcome without breaking or hitting cash flow demands too highly. We can break that down in cost-effective, bite-sized pieces over a period of time that's going to ensure that not only is that not-for-profit moving forward in a constantly improving system, but they're also able to meet the compliance and compliance obligations that many of them have to comply with, whether they be government funded or raising charity funds, which has somewhat a considerable amount of compliance to make sure that they're complying with.
For non-profits already leveraging Microsoft's offerings, there may be some other things to consider to make sure they continue to realise the true value of being part of the program.
So look, quite commonly we deal with a lot of non-profits that have been around for decades, and these non-profits are organisations that have been built around very limited budgets over years, and we're talking of non-profits around the size of 5 to 10 maximum users. So these are really, really low budget providers and organisations. Now, one of the key things that we found in these organisations is they have solutions in place that may have been implemented by their friend or their cousin or whoever many, many moons ago that really isn't supported anymore. And it's becoming a bit of a roadblock for them to be able to carry on their mission and continue the good work that they do, especially as we see more compliance around technology being imposed on non-profits. In many instances, what we've been able to do is actually help them modernise those legacy applications and tools that have been built in older systems into modern-driven applications in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And what that means for them is they now have a fully supported system that enables them to not only keep enhancing the product, but continuing to drive their mission outcomes and removing those previous roadblocks that were once there.
Some non-profits may have already begun their journey with other cloud providers. Chris shared his thoughts on why they may want to consider adopting Microsoft's offerings.
So we believe that non-profit technology should be easy to use. That's the base behind this all. And we're integrating our non-profit offerings within Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, LinkedIn, and so many sector best products and platforms. And we also try and help with the financial implications that non-profits may feel that restrict them from moving forward at their own desired pace. We offer annual grants in Azure, granted business premium, Dynamics 365 licenses, for example. And our partners again, such as ONGC, are there to hold the non-profit's hand with every single step of their journey.
Some non-profits have been around for decades and continue to run outdated systems and databases. Steve shared his experience and how ONGC have helped provide a pathway to enable non-profits to modernise their approach.
So when we look at a pathway to help these organisations modernise their approach, that's where the Microsoft partner ecosystem really comes into play. By starting a conversation with a partner, they can help you through that journey of really understanding where you are currently with those legacy applications and give you a bit of a roadmap on how you can modernise those applications using the new Microsoft 365 and Azure platforms. This is going to really enable you to leverage that in an easy way that doesn't really overstretch cash flow and makes it a really easy to consume service that's going to bring you up to date and give you the results that you need.
As technology continues to advance, businesses are forced to adopt digital ways of working. While this enhances business capabilities, it also comes with an increased risk of cyber threats. Chris shared his experience being heavily involved in the non-profit space.
We've seen an incredible number of societal issues arise and persist over the past year or 2 years, ranging from the global to the deeply personal. Non-profit organisations have been a lifeline to some of our most vulnerable communities, engaging with complex needs and working to make a difference. But non-profits themselves are increasingly at risk due to a worldwide rise in cybercrime. Whilst this impacts all sectors and organisations, non-profits are perceived as vulnerable because they may not have adequate resources to safeguard the data they need to operate, and they have some really sensitive data. This impacts everyone, from donors to programme participants to volunteers. So in response, Microsoft have launched a security programme for non-profits, a set of security offerings built to complement Microsoft's security suite to provide proactive monitoring and notification in the case of a nation-state attack using the free of charge account guard for non-profits. We've also brought in free security assessments to assess organisational and infrastructure risk to help organisations enhance their security posture based on the environment. And then finally, we've introduced some free training pathways for IT administrators and end users at non-for-profits. Our objective is to support 10,000 organisations in the first year, with a 3-year goal of providing these services to 50,000 organisations worldwide.
Cybersecurity can be quite overwhelming for all businesses, but particularly for non-profits. Steve shared his experience with assisting non-profit organisations manage their cyber risks and things that should be considered.
Cybersecurity can be quite overwhelming for non-profits, and the main reason for that is just a lack of education in the space. Accompanying with that is also the "it won't happen to us" mindset for a lot of these smaller non-profits, and even for some of the larger ones as well. What I've found is certainly of late, we're seeing a lot of heightened cybersecurity risk around a number of different key factors. One being that threat actors are looked to disrupt the mission of non-profits around the organisation. Generally, they may have a conflicting mission to some of these threat actors, and that's then enforcing some risk against them because there's people that want to sort of impact their ability to deliver on that mission. As Chris mentioned earlier, budgetary constraints can also be a bit of an issue as well. So where they aren't necessarily government funded and are self-funded or through donation only, allocating budget towards cybersecurity is quite commonly overlooked because, again, their number one priority is really delivering on their missions. The third item that we really see some significant disruption in the non-profit space is around the joiners, movers and leavers within these organisations. Now, non-profits are genuinely very high in staff turnover from volunteers transacting inside and outside of the business. They may be seasonal volunteers, they may be part-time. There's a number of different reasons around this. Now, the problem with this is we do find that a lot of those adds and removes of user accounts are not managed on a very strong and strict strategy. So what we find there is by implementing a good onboarding and offboarding process around technology can also really help reduce a lot of that cyber risk in there as well. And also make sure when you've got people coming on board in your nonprofit that the right security is implemented in the organization and the people are adequately trained on how best to use the technology in the systems that they're using.
ONGC works with customers all over Australia with managing cyber risk. We asked Steve about some of the work they have done to help their non-profit clients manage a resilient cybersecurity posture.
All of the non-profit businesses that we engage, we encourage them to introduce an annual security assessment process. Now, what this assessment is evaluating a number of key recommendations. Primarily, we're focusing around the Australian Cybersecurity Centre's Essential 8 model. And it also helps them align that to their business. Now, the reason that we've chosen this Essential 8 model over things like ISO, NIST, and some of the other larger and more popular frameworks out there is because this is a really low cost and easy to implement framework that will dramatically reduce a non-profit cyber risk profile quite simply through a quite easy to understand and execute strategy. By completing these annual assessments, not only are we setting up a really great strategy for the organisation to have a strong cybersecurity posture moving forward, but we're also evaluating that on an annual basis to ensure that any adjustments to the recommendations that are put forward are also considered and built into that strategy moving forward as well. Now, the one thing to remember with all of these cybersecurity strategies, it is always a living and breathing process. It is never something that we can start and put an end date on. It's very similar to going to the gym, right? It's always hard to get started and lose that extra weight, but there's always a need to continue to go just to maintain, the goals that you've achieved. It's very similar with cybersecurity, and that's why we use the term cybersecurity fitness and cybersecurity posture, because it is a matter of resilience that you need to maintain after you've begun that journey.
What is an example of a non-profit organisation you have worked with, and how has working with Microsoft and ONGC digitally enhanced their organisation?
We've got a really great example of a non-profit that we've worked with for a couple of years now. They're a legal advocacy firm that historically, prior to working with ONGC, had implemented a lot of these Microsoft technologies out of a knee-jerk reaction to the COVID pandemic. As everyone went into lockdown back in 2020, they were forced to adapt to a cloud-first model where they just historically weren't really near where they needed to be in that phase. Effectively, what happened through that change is they've implemented systems in a knee-jerk reaction, which has effectively meant that the systems weren't implemented adequately, things weren't set up in an efficient manner, and users were just really using the system in a chaotic manner, which effectively meant that people were wasting a bunch of time. When we came on board with the customer, we took them through a technology assessment. We helped them understand what their current state of play was and what good looks like for an organisation like them. Through a period of about 3 to 6 months, we helped them transform from a disparate, disconnected system that was really clunky and everyone was using differently to now a standard operating environment that all users use the same way. This has really enabled them to get a significant return on investment. And we did a bit of a measurement on this after the implementation, and we worked out that on average, each user was saving roughly 1 hour per week in man hours net by using this new system. Now, when they have approximately 40 staff, we're looking at a 40 hour a week saving that they've now achieved. It's a pretty significant return on investment when we're talking about reducing admin costs and being able to reinvest those investments into the company's mission. So a really great result for that non-profit there. And look, that really only scratches the surface of what's possible. That's only one example. There's so many others that we could share.
A lot of non-profits that use the sponsorship struggle to leverage the $3,500 worth of Azure credits. Steve explains some of the ways ONGC have seen non-profits use them and how they've helped deliver the solutions.
Look, the Azure credits is also always a bit of a wild card, I guess, because it is so powerful, but to the point that some people just are a bit bamboozled by what Azure even is. And that's really where working with us as a Gold Microsoft partner really comes into play. We've got really well-educated and trained subject matter experts in cybersecurity that use Azure a lot. And this could be all the way from implementing some advanced cybersecurity tools within the Azure stack. Taking cybersecurity aside, there's a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning even some basic storage and server capabilities within Azure that's there as well. So what we find that's best used within the Azure stack, especially for nonprofits starting their journey in here, is potentially moving some workloads that are on premises or on physical legacy hardware that need to be moved to a cloud-based environment. Now, for some organizations, this has meant that they haven't had to spend to $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 on infrastructure and leverage the Microsoft grant donations. And in some of those instances as well, we've been able to use the grant to cover the complete cost of hosting those servers in the cloud. So again, if we're looking at a return on investment there, some of these organizations have saved tens of thousands of dollars by actually leveraging some of the tools available within this Azure grant. So Azure itself is a very vast and wide set of tools. So my advice to get the most out of that is really to, again, engage with us, to have a conversation with our solutions architects and experts to really understand what might be possible for you in that space, because the world really is your oyster.
Due to budget and time constraints, the non-profit industry is often the last to adopt new technology. However, by leveraging Microsoft's offerings and partnering with ONGC, you will be able to realize the benefits available to you and, ultimately, set your non-profit up for success. For more information on how we can help your non-profit organisation, talk to the experts at ONGC today.